Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Tuesday afternoon. This is Justin Dionne here with your weekly episode of Know the Scene, your weekly radio show here that catches you up on everything that's going on around Lake Norman and the towns surrounding here. What's going on in the scene? What do you need to listen to? What shows should you check out? What's happening? What restaurants are hot right now? What are people doing around the scene here in Lake Norman? So thank you for listening here on WSIC. By the way, make sure that if you are not in your car, you go on to Facebook and stream this live, or YouTube and stream this live. You can see video of the broadcast. And then also, if you have not yet done it, go to whatever it is you listen to podcasts on, and please make sure to smash that subscribe button on the podcast, because you can listen to episodes of Know the Scene on any of your podcast networks and episodes. So you can listen to past episodes, and if you subscribe, you'll get an update every week when the new one comes. And we've already had some wonderful guests so far. Continuing that today, we're going to be joined here shortly by Mitch Rossell, really big country music star. Coming up the ranks. Excited to talk to him, and going to talk about his show that's happening this weekend at Cain Center for the Arts. Speaking of, we did just have a great weekend last weekend. Chatham County Line played on Friday, had a wonderful show. Then had Trey McLaughlin and the Sounds of Zamar, gospel group. Like we said, Mitch Rossell is going to be joining us here this weekend, Veterans Day weekend here at Cain Center. And then we're going to move into Mike Ferris and the Fortunate Few, and continuing along with some wonderful shows throughout December. Also, Cain Center for the Arts did announce our spring season, which will start in January, including some wonderful performances by folks like John Oates. By the way, if you're a Hall & Oates fan, John Oates is going to be performing a wonderful song, kind of a songs and stories with John Oates. We've got the Drifters coming. We've got some wonderful family-friendly programs coming as well. So make sure you check out cainarts.org, where you can find out all of the shows. You can purchase tickets. Also purchase tickets to art classes for you or your kids if you're interested in trying out art like ceramics or painting. It's a great thing for you to get yourself into for, just stress relief or meeting other people, but also great for your kids, man. It's great for your kids to get involved in things like that, just to learn some new skills and try some new things. So we hope you'll join us at Cain Center for the Arts. Well, all right, we're going to get right into it today with Mitch Rossell. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Hey, Justin, thanks for having me, man.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. A little tired, but doing good.
Yeah, sorry, full disclosure, everybody, we are pre-recording this show, so I said good afternoon to be right, but I'm going to confuse you now since I told Mitch good morning. It is because it is 9 a.m. our time, but Mitch is in Nashville, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's 8 a.m.
So you're 8 a.m., man. But your agent told me that this would be okay because he said you're a pretty early riser.
Yeah, I am. It's just my oldest son was real sick last night, so we were.
Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he's feeling better this morning, but you know how that goes. So.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
Yeah. I had a little bug the other day, and then I think I gave it to him. So
that happens.
Rough, man.
Yeah. That's right. Rough. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 boys.
3. Goodness, man. You must be a pretty busy dude.
My wife's a saint.
That's right. I was like, and bless your wife.
Amen.
That's right, man. So you guys live in Nashville there, and I see if anyone goes on and watches on YouTube or anything, I see that University of Tennessee helmet there in the background. So
that's right, man.
You're a UT guy?
Oh gosh, I can't help it, man. I've tried some years, especially we've had some rough years, but I try to just be like, I ain't fooling with it. I ain't watching. I can't. I just in my blood.
I like it. Did you go to school there?
I went to UTC, so it was
cool.
A sister school. I wish looking back, I wish I'd gone to UTK looking back. But,
hey man, wherever you went, But you're from Eastern Tennessee, right?
I am, yeah. I was born and raised out there. Spent a couple years in North Georgia, right there over the Tennessee line. But yeah, pretty much all the rest of it was East Tennessee.
That's awesome. So tell us, so I'd love to give everyone that's listening just a chance to get some quick background on you, because we're gonna talk about all the big stuff, man. I definitely want to talk about the big stuff, but I always love giving people getting into the weeds of like that little stuff, that helped really build the base for the big stuff to happen. So what's the town in Tennessee that you're from?
I say East Tennessee because I really grew up in the Chattanooga area, mainly with my mom's family. But when my dad was alive, though, he was in Tellico Plains, Tennessee, which is a tiny little town, kind of middle of the state. And then his mom was in Bristol. So as a
Okay,
kid, I
yeah.
went up and down the side of the state a lot, and I feel like it's not really fair to say one town because they all helped raise me, you know.
Yeah. Now, if you were with you mentioning Bristol, were you like a racing guy too, like a racing fan?
I never really got into it. My grandfather was for sure.
Yeah.
He was big into it. So I watched a little bit of NASCAR, and now I've become buddies with a guy named Joey Logano,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I've gotten a little more into it to watch Joey and support him and all that. But yeah, I was never a big fan as a kid.
Joey's around these parts, man.
He is, yeah,
Right around these parts in Lake
yep,
Norman area around here. So
yep, right down the road. Yep.
yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Um,
Sure.
so as you were growing up there, did you grow up with the being around music or being around, did you do like music in church or something? How did you get introduced to kind of what it is you do now?
Actually, no. So my dad was really the only influence in terms of like actually playing music, and I think maybe I might have seen him play one time. He played a little bit of guitar by ear, but we didn't have really much money, and when I say much money, I mean any money. So he couldn't really afford to keep a guitar around. So I maybe saw him play one time, and then he had me sing in church maybe two or three times as a kid. Um, but that was really about it, man. I didn't have any sort of influence outside of that. It was just he always wanted me to play. He bought me a little guitar when I was a kid, and I wouldn't learn. And so when he passed, I just kind of vowed that I would learn one day for him. I didn't know when, I didn't know where, I didn't know any of that. I just knew one day I need to pick up a guitar and learn how to play. So graduated high school, was working my tail off that summer. I was working like two or three jobs and just saving money. And I ended up uh, putting my 2 weeks in on all those jobs about, I don't know, a few weeks before I left for college because I was leaving to go to Virginia. And so I was like, man, I've got all this spare time, and I woke up one morning and I thought, you know what, today's the day. I'm gonna go buy a guitar. So that was it.
Wow, that's awesome. So what was your first what kind of guitar did you buy for your first one?
It was a Washburn actually.
Yeah, mine's a Washburn too, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So I didn't have a whole lot to spend, but I think I spent like 250 on it, something like
Wow.
that. So
Yeah,
it was a
man.
decent little guitar, and good starting guitar,
Yeah.
and served the purpose for sure.
So how long? So I know your dad. I mean, because I know too. I mean, I've listened to your music and everything too. Reading about your dad. Tragically passed. And that was when you were in. Was that high school?
I was 10 at the time
Ten.
actually.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah.
No,
So
you're
you
good.
were really young. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What an impact, man.
Yeah, it's pretty rough for sure, but
Well, good on
yeah,
you for like finding that motivation. Like I mean,
yeah,
especially at that age and using that as a way as a probably coping and working through things and everything that way. Well, we're gonna head off. We're gonna put a pin in this and head to break, and then we're gonna come right back with more from Mitch Rossell. Know the scene. Don't go anywhere, guys. All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Know the Scene this week, continuing our conversation with country music star Mitch Rossell, coming to us today from his home in Nashville. Appreciate that setup there, Mitch. It's always nice when we're interviewing someone virtually and they have a nice setup.
Yeah, I try.
Oh, we appreciate that. So awesome, man. Well, when we left off, we were just going a little bit into kind of your early history. You know, lost your father at a young age, but continued on, and vowed you were gonna learn how to play guitar. Promised your dad you'd learn how to play guitar, and you did. And you got your first Washburn. There, you said right out of high school, basically, right? Like you had been working a bunch of jobs, and right before you went to college. So I guess tell me a little bit how what was your approach when you first started learning how to play, right? Because I like that, like, so for some folks, like for instance, like I learned how to play guitar, I was like 13, right? And like wanted to, part of me, of course, was like wanting to get girls, so like I want to learn how to play guitar,
Sure.
and like Dave Matthews, and learn, would pull the guitar tabs off of the internet and
Right.
teach myself like that. Did you do that kind of thing too?
I did a little bit. I took maybe 2 or 3 lessons before I left for school, and then I'd look up tabs here and there, but I ended up finding out kind of just, and I didn't even realize that I was doing it, but that I was just kind of playing by ear, because
Yeah.
I would hear these, I would do these tabs and go, well, that's not right, and then I'd figure out what it actually was, and so I eventually just quit looking at the tabs and just started figuring it out myself. And once you start learning the chords, for me, I could hear a song and go, oh, okay, well, that's a one, and at the time that's a C, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was playing by ear, fairly quickly once I learned how to play most of the chords. I didn't realize that was like a thing. That people were like, "What? You can just hear it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not. I thought everybody did like that." So I know a lot of people here can, and Nashville can, but
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
so you discovered like that kind of a gift, right? I mean, you were saying earlier that like you didn't really necessarily grow up with a lot of music per se. I mean, dad had you sing in church a little bit, and saw your dad play guitar once or twice, I guess. But like, so you kind of uncovered a gift.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I don't know. I guess I got that from my dad. I mean, there's some people in my family, like I have some cousins that play, and stuff like that, but no one that really, um, direct lineage, like father, grandfather,
Right.
at least in the last couple generations, except for my dad a little bit. Like I said, he dabbled a little bit and supposedly played by ear, but yeah, I don't know where I got it from.
So you got the guitar right before you went to college, you said.
Yep.
Right. And so what were you, so real quickly, so what were you going to college? What was your track in college?
Yeah, that first year I majored in biology. I thought I wanted to be an anesthesiologist, but it turns out you actually have to be good at science. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Probably a little bit of math too, I guess, in that.
I didn't know that. Nobody told me you had to actually be good at the subjects in order. So that didn't last very long. I switched that major second year in to business management, and it worked out really well because then all those classes I made C's and D's in became electives. So it really helped my GPA.
There you go. Nice.
So yeah.
So that's what you finished in, was business management?
Yeah, so I did fine in college. I just didn't care. Like I was,
Yeah.
especially by the time I got to like my junior year, I was so into music. I just was like, I'm just trying to get done. I don't even care. Trying to survive, more or less.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Like, so what were
So
you doing with music while you were in college? Because, you're doing your studies, I guess, I mean, you're doing your studies, but you're, yeah, right? You're doing what you have to do for your studies. How about that?
yeah, sure.
But yeah, what was that like? Like, what was that time like? Because if you just picked up a guitar right after high school and you're going into college, that must have been a big growth period for you as a musician.
Oh yeah, it was huge. Especially that first year, a lot of downtime. I didn't know a single person where I was going to school. Just literally didn't know anybody within 100 miles. I had an uncle that was I was at Virginia Tech. I had an uncle at William and Mary College. He was he was some part of the dorm some title over there, like not an RA but something like that, and so that was the closest person I knew. So I had a lot of downtime, and that was definitely a big growth period for me, playing music. And just to kind of show you where my priorities were, I remember my first big test in chemistry, my freshman year, and the night before it, I remember it was the first song I really wrote, and I was just so excited about it. And I called my mom to tell her about it. I was just pumped. And she goes, "Well, what? Don't you have a test tomorrow?" And I was like, "Mom, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Tests, like, well, the guy had a million tests. Who cares? I just wrote a song." She's like, "Yeah, but you should probably be studying." I'm like, "It's gonna be fine. I wrote a cheat sheet. We get a cheat sheet. So yeah, we get a half page cheat sheet. I don't even need to study." I think I made a 58 on that one. So it was a hot start.
But was the song? But how did the song come out?
Oh, the song was awful, but I mean, at the time it was amazing.
There you go. So was this so you were at Virginia Tech?
I was at Virginia Tech when I did that. Yeah.
So did you do all 4 years at Virginia Tech?
No, I did a year there, and then the last 3 years at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga.
That's where. Okay, sorry, because I remember you said So so out of those, because those are two different. I mean, they're not far from each other, but they are two different areas. I mean, they're decently far. I mean, they're a couple hours from each other.
100%.
Right. Yeah. So what was there a difference in the music, maybe growth that you felt being in one area versus the other?
Yeah, I actually, it's a great question you asked. I don't know if anybody's ever asked that, but it actually has a very kind of an interesting answer, because I grew up on country music.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the South, and I think I kind of rebelled against that, later, late middle school, high school time, and really just branched out, listened to everything,
Mm-hmm.
listened to all kinds of stuff except country for a while. And going to college, when I got there, I thought, man, this is the South, just like where I'm from, whatever. And parts of it are for sure. But a lot of the kids that went to that school were from Pennsylvania and Northern Virginia. Like, that was the majority of the students, it seemed like, that I was running around with. And so they messed with me. They made fun of me and, my accent and stuff, just, goofing off.
Oh yeah. No, I went to a school I went to a small school that had a bunch of people from Jersey and stuff. So like they used to, I'm like, we're in my area and somehow I'm getting made fun of. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. So I got my nickname ended up being Tennessee. I had buddies that called me Tennessee.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
So it just kind of like, and it kind of made me go, damn right, and and I just kind of really got back to my roots and really bought the Brad Paisley Muddle and the Tire CD.
Yeah.
Man, it was just off to the races from there. I just fell back in love with country music and reminded why I loved it so much as a kid, and so that really was huge in my trajectory as a writer, and as an artist. So it was kind of, it wasn't like I was trying to go do something. It was coming back home is what it was. It was coming back to who I really was. And so yeah, it was a big moment for sure.
And that was that kind of when you went to Chattanooga, like you tapped back in more to those Tennessee kind of old school country vibes?
I think a couple of reasons I went back. One, I was raised to be financially mindful, and Virginia Tech, I was getting a lot of scholarships, but I was still paying like $8,000 a year. And I know compared to a lot of student debt, that's not a lot, but for me, it was a lot of money that I didn't want to owe at the end of my 4 years.
Right.
I didn't want to owe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. And so I decided to come home so I could save some money.
Yeah.
And also because I found that appreciation again for where I was from, and realized how much I loved it. And so I think it was good for me to get out and realize, just how much I love, home. So
that's awesome. So you're in Chattanooga. So you moved to Chattanooga or transfer there. You're, 1 or 2 years maybe ish into playing guitar, and you've written your first song already. Congratulations. And so but you get to Chattanooga, you're listening to more Brad Paisley. You're probably digging into some more, classic country, right?
Yep.
In that realm of things, what leads you? Is that where you had a moment of a spark of like, maybe there's something here, or did it come out later?
It came out a little later. I had, people were telling me, oh man, you should really think about doing it, whatever. But most of them are like friends or family, and I don't know. I was like, yeah, I'm sure y'all are just being really nice, and you have no idea. You're biased, And so I ended up, I think it was maybe maybe junior year, sophomore junior year. My uncle Richard was over at the house, and my uncle Richard, he's led an interesting life. I mean, he's run like you know poker rings out of his house and makes moonshine, and
Oh, he's one of
just
them
my uncle
Appalachian
Richard.
boys.
You know what I mean? He's
That's
the man. He's the man. He's one of my favorite people in the world, and he's just done all kinds of interesting stuff, and he's met a
yeah.
lot of people. So he knew a guy named Mark Gray who was an artist, a signed artist here in Nashville. Wrote "The Closer You Get" for Alabama, "Take Me
Oh,
Down,"
wow.
for Jenny Fricky, Johnny Cash. I mean, he had a bunch of cuts and was an artist himself. Amazing singer, amazing piano player. He had a stroke, and he moved to Chattanooga to kind of recover. And so I ended up, my Uncle Richard had met him and didn't know him well, but knew him enough to at least say, hey, will you please hear my nephew? And so I went over there and played, and he saw something, I guess. And
Wow.
he kind of took me under his wing. So that was a another huge moment,
Wow. That's amazing. All right. So we're going to take a quick break on that, and we're going to come back and talk more about where the journey continued from there, how you ended up meeting Mr. Garth Brooks, and
Yep.
and then ended up opening up on his stadium tours all
Yep.
around the U.S. We're going to talk about more about that after the break. Know the Scene with Mitch Rossell. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Know the Scene. We are here today with country music star Mitch Rossell, continuing our conversation, learning about him and his journey to where he got to today. If you've been listening so far, by the way, do make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you can listen to episodes in the past and keep up to speed. Also, if you'd like to watch on YouTube or Facebook Live when we do have shows, and some of them will get posted up after the fact. You can watch it after the fact, too. So check that out. Mitch is coming to Cain Center for the Arts this weekend, coming to play Saturday night here on Veterans Day weekend. We're excited to have him here. So if you don't have tickets yet for that, make sure to get them on cainarts.org so you can get tickets to see him. And where we left off, we were talking about Mitch with his journey here. He was up at Virginia Tech for a year of school, and then went down, and now it was in Chattanooga where we left off, where he had been playing his guitar and going to school, and his uncle had a contact, his wild man uncle, had a contact in the industry that Mitch kind of didn't. Well, it wasn't like an audition per se, but it was more like, hey, would you be willing to meet with my nephew, right?
Yeah, it was. It was. Hey, I think he's got something special, and I think you would. I think you'd enjoy it if he could play you a song or something like that.
So how do you? So you had at this point written more than the one song, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I'd written quite a few at that point.
There you go.
So, yeah.
So you just met with him, played him a few sons, and then he says, "Hey, I think this kid's got something."
Yeah, I met with him, played him a few songs, and he was like, "Hey, I think you've definitely got a talent here." And he started kind of critiquing some things and saying, "Hey, just taught me little stuff, not necessarily helping me write them. It was more just pointing out where maybe something didn't make as much sense, or maybe a chord change didn't sound quite right, or maybe things like having air in a song, stuff that you just don't really think about or know. At least I didn't. So
yeah.
It was pretty cool to have him teach me some of those things.
I love that. And that's something that I think maybe folks that aren't that one of the things I like to talk about on this show is really get into some of the depth of what it is that artists do. Right. I think that from the outside perspective, it can be, oh, well, they just were magically an amazing guitar player and singer, and they write these amazing songs, and they just had this gift, and now they do it. And it's like, it's never that simple, right? Like, you had to put a lot of time in, man, because you're a great songwriter. I mean, you're a great performer, don't get me wrong, but like you're like, for me, like, your songwriting, man, is like amazing.
Oh,
so you've taken time to really develop that craft.
1,000%. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else, but in my experience, look at Tiger Woods. I'm sorry, but yeah, he's super talented, but his talent is not what got him where he went.
Right.
It took a lot of hours, a lot of hard work, and to me, music's no different. For me, especially, I don't know that I was ever all that talented. I think I had some talent. I think you have to have some talent in what you're doing to be able to be, great at it. But I just worked my ass off. I mean, I wrote hundreds of songs before I even really thought I'm decent, like I'm starting to figure this out. So that was my journey. At this point, I don't know how many songs I've written.
Sure.
Way too many to count. But I feel like for me, it was like, man, I wrote 2-3 notebooks full and threw them away, started over, kind of thing. Just take time, and you learn from other people. I was blessed to write with some killer writers, become really good buddies with one of the best writers in this town, in my opinion, a guy named Dave Turnbull. And Dave really helped me to see that just because a line works, and just because you think of it and it's the first thing that pops in your head and you're thinking, oh, this must be it. 'Cause it's like, no, like dig, because, and every time he'd be right. I'd have a line on some song we were doing, but I'd be like adamant that this was the line. A couple hours in, we'd come up with something, and I'd go, man, that is better. Yeah. And it's just like, that's that little stuff, that I think we've lost a little bit of the art of that, because of the culture we live in now with country music. It's a storytelling platform, in my opinion. And we've lost a little bit of the soul of that, because I think a lot of the younger people coming up haven't necessarily been taught to dig like the great writers of the past have. A lot of the stuff I feel like is just, let's write 3 songs a day and write them in an hour and a half and throw it at the wall and see if it sticks, you know?
Huh.
So I don't know. I was kind of a little different school of thought that I was blessed to be around.
I love that you went there, because I think that was something I wanted to get into a little bit today. Was like one of the things that I enjoy about your music and your writing and your approach to country music is that it to me it does point more toward the roots of more of what I personally, and I'm not an expert by any means, but the roots of what I've thought of like country music, right? Like the the Johnny Cash up to, where, the Merle, the Johnnies, but then up to, of course, people like, Garth and people like Clint Black. And I mean, like when people were like, when I'm telling people that Mitch Rossell's coming to play, and if they hadn't quite heard of you, they're like, oh, what's he like? And I'm like, he is country, but like more like Clint Black style country, Brad Paisley style country. And they go, oh, and I'm like, yes, because I think there's been, I mean, I guess as always, there's going to be shifts in styles.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But I don't know. What are your? I mean, with as much as you can say, I guess, right? Like, what are your thoughts on kind of like the different? God, I want to say almost like tentacles of country music, because like I don't want to say any of it's right or any of it's wrong. It's just different, right?
Sure, 100%. I think where the problem lies is that when the business side of this, some of the people, the gatekeepers, people running this, if something starts working for one artist, it's like they just start signing all the same kind of artists, and it all sounds the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one issue. I feel like it's not welcoming to the variety. It's getting better, I think, because of all the ways you can listen to country music now. They're realizing there is still an audience for country music, like more traditional, country music. And I think it's shifting a lot too. I'm seeing a lot of more traditional artists have more success, which I think is awesome. I don't knock anybody for having success. If you're working for a goal or a dream and you're doing well, like I applaud you. Like that's amazing. It's just my personal taste. I mean, I do think that if we're going to call something country, I can change my style. I can change my hat. I can grow a beard like I have, I can wear different boots. I can not wear boots at all. But if you take my heart out and I stop breathing, it doesn't matter. I'm no longer me, right?
Right.
If you take my mind out, whatever it is, the thing that makes me me, I'm no longer me. So my point being, music can change, it can move, it can adapt. But to me, country music is lyric and it's storytelling. And if you take that out, to me, it's not country music anymore. It's probably pop with maybe a fiddle on it or steel on it, or a guy with a southern drawl or whatever. But to me, I just miss the substance that we used to have. I think there's still artists doing it, and I think it has gotten better lately. But I think there for a while, man, it was, I don't know, I couldn't hardly turn on the radio because it just was so just kind of mindless.
Yeah, I like that. That's my, like I always say, like again, like for a while it's like there's this, and I think it's like you said, it got a little stereotypical.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, my truck and my boots and my small town. And I mean, I'm not, and like flag, whatever it was, check. It's like check boxes. Did we talk about this? I guess that's a country song. And it was like, wait a minute. Like, that's not, like, it's kind of like you were talking about, man, like country to me, like country used to be from the roots of, people who didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Like people that didn't have anything, people that did work their butts off, people that, and it was like kind of songs about the struggle, maybe.
For sure.
Or about what helped them to get through those things. More
we weren't afraid to, like, now for a ballad on country radio to do well is like, it has to be like groundbreaking. And used to, ballads were commonplace, and it's like, I think it's reflective too. We used to not be afraid to talk about heavy things and feel
Right.
and
Yeah.
feel and hurt and cry during a song. But
Sure.
I think culturally we're more depressed than we've ever been, and I think that
Interesting.
has a lot to do with it too. People don't want to hear a lot of times, the general public, that the kind of people who listen more casually to radio, like as background, music to their day or whatever. I think that they want to hear just happy stuff because they have enough on their minds, where they're not super, happy, or they may be a little depressed or
Sure.
whatever. I think that might have something to do with it too. But yeah, I don't know. I can't help it. I love those just punch you right in the gut
Yeah.
kind of songs. I can listen to those all day, and I have my moments too where I'm a little depressed and a little whatever,
Sure.
like we all do. But I still I don't know. I just have always loved. If I don't feel something from it, if it's not making me think or making me feel something, I just don't. It's never really been for me.
Wow, that's great, man. Dude, I think that's awesome that I appreciate your vulnerability and like even, talk about that, right? And put that out there. And I think that you do a great job of reflecting that vulnerability in your music,
Thank you.
and in your songwriting as well. Which I think, to what your point is, what we were talking about is, I think maybe that's part of it. Is maybe some of the country music that comes out now that you hear that's the top whatever, it's lost that vulnerability
Yeah.
that maybe used to be in country music, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think I
100%.
like Johnny Cash, like don't take your guns to town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Classic.
yeah,
Classic.
right. All right, sorry, we got to go to another break. We're gonna come right back on Mitch Rossell. Know the scene. Come right back. Don't leave. Know the scene. Know the scene. We're back. We're back. really having a great conversation today with Mitch Rossell, guys. If you guys are country music fans, you got to come see Mitch this weekend. I mean it. And if you've listened to the show today, I think we just got to have some great conversation about country music and just our thoughts on it and what Mitch's role is in it. I sometimes behind the scenes call him a one of the saviors of country music right now. Which I appreciate. But because I'm kind of sorry, I'm gonna get dorky for a minute and like the music dork for a minute. So I feel like country music as like the outlaw side that's kind of on a comeback, which is like, you got some of those outlaw guys coming in from their side. The Tyler Childers. More
folky kind of.
Yeah, like that kind of. They remind me of like the old school outlaws, like Johnny Cash and those guys with that energy coming back. And then I think, like I said, then you're coming back on the other side with this, the traditional songwriters, the Clint Black, Brad Paisley feel like, and it's a nice rap in my mind, of bringing both of those kind of back. I enjoy that as a fan.
Me too. Yeah, I've definitely never claimed or tried to be outlaw country, but I enjoy it for sure. I appreciate you saying that.
You're the guy on the stool, playing his like awesome songwriting, heartfelt stuff too, and more. So for folks listening, we've only got one more segment left, so I'm gonna have to cover a lot. Cause sorry, we just had such a great time talking in the last segment. But so the first time I saw Mitch was in Panther Stadium, in a like. And it's like this full, huge stadium for Garth Brooks. Like the whole lower bowl on the floor is like 4 people excited for Garth Brooks. 2 shows, 2 nights were like packed. And out walks as an opener this guy by himself with a guitar and plays these like heartfelt songs, just him and a guitar. And that guy was Mitch Rossell. And I literally was watching that night, and I made a note, and I was like, when we open, so the Cain Center for the Arts, we just opened in January. But at the time when you came through with Garth's tour, we were under construction. And I literally made a note, and I was like, I've got to get him to play our place. If he's not, if he would play it, because I worried, I didn't know, if we'd be too small for you to play. And I got to tell you guys, like, Mitch held that audience, held the attention of the audience in a stadium. One guy and a guitar. What was that like for you, man? Being on that tour with them and experiencing that.
It was surreal. His crowds are the best too, and I'm not just saying this. It sounds convenient, but I tell everybody that I talk to, Charlotte, holy crap, in my top 3 favorite crowds I've ever played for.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh, that's
cool.
cool.
Gigs I've ever played, no matter what gig it is.
So you guys did mean that, because like you said it and Garth said it that night, and I'm like, and it was wild, dude. I mean, it was loud. The crowd was like louder than like a football game, than any kind of sports crowd I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was the perfect balance. Salt Lake City was similar to me. The perfect balance of like loud but listening.
Yes, agreed.
Which is a lot of times you get listening crowds, that don't really applaud much. Like they applaud, but it's not like they're not rowdy.
Right.
But they're listening, so you're like, I know they're enjoying it. They're just a listening crowd. Or you'll get the rowdy crowd, and they're not really listening as much as the other crowds that you play for sometimes. But at least they're letting raising hell and clapping loud at the end and all that. So that's fun. But Charlotte it was like they were here with me, like we were all right here, and then at the end of the song, man, it was like, awesome. I mean, such good crowds.
Yeah.
So I had an absolute blast.
That's awesome.
Charlotte's been so good to me, man. We played one gig.
Did you play Whiskey? I think you played Whiskey River. Or that kind of, there's like a country bar venue in Uptown, or
no? It was shoot, man, I feel bad. I've gotten so bad with any names. Anyways, we played, I don't know, 6 months ago. I think it was early summer, and man, they showed up. And
that's awesome.
I know where I'm at as an artist. Like I'm not on radio. I'm not. I'm still trying to build it. So, for a market I've never actually played in except for the Garth shows, it's been pretty amazing. And the tickets for Cain Center have been, man, it's been awesome. So,
Yeah, we are selling well, by the way, folks. So make sure you get those tickets. We do still have some available. Just make sure you get them ahead of time. Because our venue, Mitch, the Cain Center. I mean, it's a theater, right? And it's more. I mean, people will listen. I mean, it is kind of a listening room kind of vibe is what we kind of go for in the space.
That's the venues. That's the venues we've been focusing on because for what I do now, look, we have rocking fun songs. You're gonna laugh.
Yeah.
You're gonna have all that, but there again, it's country music. I mean, it's stories, and we want you to hear it and have an experience personally. We want you to be moved by the whole thing, ups and downs and middles and everywhere, love and loss and everything.
Right.
We want you to have a spiritual musical experience with us, and I think those venues are suited more for what we do. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about it, actually.
Yeah, man. Well, we're excited to have you. So real, if you don't mind me asking, how did you meet? I mean, how did you get in with Garth? Like, how do you even get to? I mean, how does that even happen? Right?
Yeah, you probably wouldn't even believe me if I told you, but I got a hold of an email address that he had distributed to the publishers in Nashville back when he first came back from retirement, and it was just a pitch email to pitch songs to, and I got a hold of it, and I was unsigned. I had nothing going, nothing. Barely was even doing any co-writing. I was just writing by myself and was playing for tips downtown, just trying to survive. And I sent this email, sent 4 songs, and basically just told him like how much it meant to me just to be able to send them because he's my favorite artist of all time.
Yeah,
and he's the reason I'm in Nashville. I mean, his songs are the biggest influence on me. And so a week later, exactly, he emailed me back, and he basically said, this town never changes, Mitch. It always makes the most talented guys earn it. You're one of those guys. You're in the top 1% of this town. Send me every single thing you got. I don't care if it's a guitar vocal or a full-blown demo. Just, I want to hear it all.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So you literally just took a chance.
Yeah.
Just took a chance. Emailed Garth Brooks, and he emails you back.
He emailed me back, yeah.
That's so neat.
Shows you he actually listens to the songs. I don't know how he does it because he's probably getting thousands,
right,
from publishers. But he does it, and man, it was surreal. And that started the conversation through email, and then we just really hit it off. And then he was like, "Hey, come down to the studio. I'd love to just shake hands and just talk." And went down there, and we just realized we were cut from the same cloth, and got closer and closer as buddies. And I've grown to really trust him and look to him for a lot of life stuff. I mean,
kind of mentor.
Yeah, 100%, man.
That's awesome.
Losing my dad, I never really had somebody. My grandfather filled that role as best he could, but it's a big generation gap. So Garth was much more kind of around the age my dad would have been, and so it's been really a blessing to have him around if I just needed to talk about something.
That's awesome, man.
So
that's awesome. And you end up, writing, or he ends up, performing. What, four songs that you've written, right?
Yeah, the first one was one that I wrote actually by myself because all those years I was just writing by myself. I didn't have a deal or anything. So he cut Ask Me How I Know, and that went number 1, which was incredible.
Right. Congrats, dude. That's so awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I mean, for a dude that just for a kid, grows up with not a lot, loses his dad early, and then next thing you know, you write a friggin' number 1 song.
For
like that, Garth. That's
man,
that's amazing, dude.
It's pretty surreal, man. It's God is good. That's all I can say. So yeah, then we co-wrote All Day Long, which was a single, Dive Bar, which was a single, and then That's What Cowboys Do, which was a single. So,
wow. Well,
yeah,
and then you so you have this amazing, and congrats, man, for getting for many things, for that, for getting to meet at such a, one of your heroes, and then, he becomes a mentor. And mentors are so important, man.
Amen.
Mentors are so important in whatever it is you do, so to have a great mentor is fantastic. And then, and then you continue on. So you do the Garth tour. That helps, right? That helps. Yeah. And then you just had a little stint on America's Got Talent.
Yep. Correct.
And that was great.
Yep.
And now you're back out on the road.
That's right. Yep. So it's been a good ride.
Yeah. Now, are you kind of just so what's happening now? What are some of your goals as you're thinking forward? Are just kind of gonna enjoy some shows and just keep writing, as you can, or you thinking a new record, or what do you? I guess people don't really do albums as much anymore, right? Where are you headed?
We're gonna do some EPs. I think we're gonna do like
Nice.
6 to 8 song EPs. I've got a list of songs. I mean, it's as long as my arm that I've just been holding for years, and other songs that are newer that I've just been kind of hanging on to. Just kind of figuring out like what is going to happen in my career, and I'm just kind of at a point now where it's like, man, I'm just going to release music. I've got so much music. I haven't even scratched the surface.
How do you? So would you say like that more of your goal is to go in the performer direction, or more in the more songwriter direction, or kind of a blend of both? Like, what is your?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say more performer, but definitely a blend of both to some degree. I've never really sought to get outside cuts. The Garth thing just happened.
Sure.
I sought it really early on, but then I've always just kind of written for myself. But also keeping in mind that, hey, look, I'd love to have cuts on other artists if they want to cut a certain song,
Sure.
that I'm not going to do or whatever. But yeah, definitely the performer thing, and just trying to do what God put me here to do,
And be a dad.
That's right. That's the biggest thing.
Be a dad of those 3 boys.
Yeah. Husband and father first, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Mitch, so much. Everybody, Mitch Rossell, this Saturday night, cainarts.org. Get those tickets. Seriously, you're not going to want to miss this performance. Mitch, thank you so much for your time, man. We really appreciate it.
Dude, thank you, Jess. I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate getting a chance to talk to you. And everybody come see him this weekend. Have a great week. Know the scene.